What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Lake Pro Tackle. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today's video, we're going to be going over the different types of jerkbaits and which ones you should start using here in the fall time and going into the winter transition. So jerkbaits are one of my favorite bait fish patterns, one of my favorite techniques to throw in the fall, winter, and springtime. And there's a whole wide range of jerkbaits that you can choose from. Some have more action than others, some are louder, some are silent, some are built to have a little more flash, if you know what I'm talking about. We'll get into that here in a little bit. But you know, every jerkbait is a little bit different. We have so many brands here at this shop, and you can check them all out at lakeprotackle.com, guys. Keep up with us on Instagram and Facebook. We really appreciate it. We let you know exactly when stuff comes in, gets on the website, and you can get it first thing. So, you know, jerkbait fishing to me is one of those techniques that you can use all around, you know, throughout the year. However, certain times of the year, especially in the fall and winter time, it can be extremely, extremely deadly when those fish are keying in on shad, keying in on small bait fish or big bait fish, depending on what you have in your lakes. But here in the Metroplex of DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth, a lot of these fish are focusing on around that 2 to 4, maybe 5-inch shad. That can be threadfin or gizzard shad, depending on where you're at. There's generally a huge quantity of both. But typically with the jerkbait, guys, I love fishing the Megabass Vision 110. Typically it's a staple on my deck almost all times of the year. However, right now, especially in the fall time, guys, those fish are chasing up, they're being really aggressive, and they're looking for something different. You know, my past couple videos, I've talked about a lot of different A-rig styles, how I like to finesse them down here in this early fall time or mid-fall time, moving into the winter transition. And it really, really helps to have those smaller swim baits on your A-rigs, but I think it's quite the opposite with something like a jerkbait. So we're gonna talk about a bunch of jerkbaits today, so strap in. At the end of the video, leave a like on it if you did enjoy it or you learned something. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoy what we're doing here at Lake Pro Tackle, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and hop into it here. You know, starting off, all three of these jerkbaits have something in common with each other. So we've got a Jackal Re-Range, we've got a Strike King KVD 300, and we also have a Megabass Edo Shiner. Now, the main key with these three jerkbaits right here is that they're super loud, in charge, very erratic. You know, one of my favorite jerkbaits, especially as I'm throwing my jerkbaits around, one of my favorite jerkbaits this time of the year is this Jackal Re-Range, and I'll tell you why. So the Jackal Re-Range is, I believe, 110 millimeters. It's gonna be a suspending jerkbait, and it's gonna weigh 14.8 grams, so just over half an ounce. What's great about this Re-Range is the lip design on it and also how the body is shaped. Now the body is shaped a little bit like a upside down triangle in the fact that it cuts through the water very easy. The bill is pretty wide on it. You can see maybe you can see right there, you can see it's a pretty wide bill, and that's gonna allow it to have a very erratic darting action left to right. And what's also great about it is that you can work this bait extremely fast without it blowing out. Now, like I said earlier, the fish, the bass, the largemouth, the smallmouth, the spotted bass are all keying in on bait fish this time of year. Now, of course, they will eat crawfish here and there, they'll eat bluegill, they'll eat anything they can get their hands on or get their mouths on. But the bait fish imitators are going to be the main players here in the fall time. And what's great about the Re-Range, like I said, you can work it extremely, extremely fast. It's extremely, extremely loud as well. It has smaller BBs, as you can hear right here, and it also has some really, really loud BBs in there as well. So it's almost a dual tone. It has an amazing casting system in it. You can see, maybe, you probably can't see in this one, but it's got a crazy weight transfer system that when you throw it, it slams down and it sounds like a 22 going off when you throw it. So this bait here, you can throw extremely long distances. You can work it back to the boat extremely, extremely fast and erratic, and it allows you to get those bites that you might miss with some other jerk baits. That was the Re-Range there. We're gonna talk about another one, the KVD 300. This guy's been out for quite a while. Kevin Van Dam absolutely loves this for the springtime jerkbait bite and the fall time jerkbait bite, mainly because you can work it extremely, extremely fast. Now, it's not gonna have the same castability as the Re-Range. But this guy right here, the KVD 300, is another jerkbait that you can work extremely, extremely fast. He loves it on a higher speed gear ratio, a shorter rod, and just working down seawalls, working down dock areas, working down flats, and he can get a ton of bites on that. Now the jerkbait bite has been pretty quiet for a little bit. You know, in recent years it's picked up with live scope, but here in the fall time, guys, honestly, those fish are moving so fast, it's so hard to key in on these pods of fish just with live scope. So, you know, casting down a bank, you're gonna be so much more successful, cover a ton more water, almost like you're cranking, where you're just going down a riprap bank super fast, working these baits. But this one here is another staple in my arsenal. I used to use this one a lot more until I got my hands on the re-range, and now it's kind of shifted to this one here. It's a better suspending jerkbait. It's got better hooks on it. In my opinion, you know, straight out of the package, Strike King has upgraded these hooks on the new Strike King jerkbaits to must-add triple grip straight out of the package. So this guy right here is a little bit dated, but it's still an amazing jerkbait. You know, you stick some owner size 6s or size 4s on there and you'll be good to go. Another one of my absolute favorites in the fall time, guys, is going to be the Megabass Edo Shiner. Now, if you don't know about this bait, it's because it's a very not talked about bait, guys. Everyone knows the Megabass Vision 110, the Vision 110 plus ones, but the Edo Shiner has flown under the radar for a lot of anglers, and I'll tell you why. So this bait here is used by a lot of Elite Series pros, Bass Pro Tour pros, and they don't talk about it. You know, a lot of the times you just see them throwing a Megabass jerkbait and you're like, oh, it's just a 110. It's just your typical run-of-the-mill jerkbait. Now this one is very, very different, guys. It has a bill very similar to the re-range. It's gonna have a pretty good wide bill. It's gonna be a little bit longer, so it's gonna get down to a little bit greater depth. It's a little bit longer as well in total length. The Edo Shiner, I believe, is 120 or 115 millimeters, so it's 5 millimeter longer, so not too much. It is half an ounce, so it's very castable, has the LBO weight transfer system in it. And what's super awesome about it too is you can work it extremely, extremely fast. That speed is what gets those fish in the fall time as they have to react to that bait as it flies past their face. It's just a instant response. Just, am I gonna eat it? Am I not gonna eat it? And you know, making the same cast over and over down a bank, if you make 4 or 5 casts, not get a bite, that 6th one, you might get the bite, put it just close enough to that fish's face to where they just latch out and grab onto it. Now this bait here does have the bigger Katsuage hooks, which I absolutely love. It's gonna be a little bit thicker hook. I like to use this Shiner on around a 7-foot rod, 12 to 14 pound line, depending on how far you want to get it down. But just like the re-range and just like that KVD 300, you can work this bait extremely, extremely fast. And also it is extremely loud. It's a much deeper tone than a lot of the other ones. It's going to have an amazing rattle in it. The hooks, extremely good, guys. I can't say enough about the Megabass Shiner. So moving on to, I guess, your later wintertime jerkbaits. Of course, the Megabass Vision 110 is great all year. However, in the wintertime, it can get really, really good because it's a great finesse jerkbait. To get the Shiner going and the re-range going, as well as that KVD, you've really got to hit them. You got to hit them really, really hard most of the time. You can twitch them here and there depending on your line, your stiffness of your rod, but typically you have to get those other baits. In the fall time, you gotta really get them going. The 110, 110 plus 1, and a couple others that we're gonna talk about here were designed to where you could do a lot of both, but mainly towards the finesse style where you're just kind of twitching it along. You don't have to put in some real big inputs with the rod. The 110 has been a staple in my arsenal, especially for the winter to early spring, where I can work it really fast with small little inputs of the rod, small inputs of the reel, and it is very, very effective. Another one that just came out is going to be the Rapala Mavericks. Now these guys here are also a 110 size. It's going to come with the new Redline VMC series hooks, the trebles, and you know, I absolutely love the design of this bait straight off the bat. It's going to be very similar to the 110 in terms of weighting, in terms of the bill, in terms of a lot of things. I think one thing that they did miss out on, but I think they really just carried in from the original the original jerkbaits, is that the body design is very similar. I wish they changed up the body design just a little bit, let you take a good hard look at that there. The red line hooks are my favorites. They're going to be EWG style hooks. Keep those fish pinned. My one complaint about it is it doesn't have a great weight transfer system in it. It's a little bit hard to throw. Other than that, you know, it's a great finesse style jerkbait where you can work it pretty fast, not too fast. It's gonna have a great side to side motion, and you're definitely gonna get a lot of bites on it. Now this one here is a 110 size, and I believe it is ½ an ounce. I'm gonna have to double check on that. Let's see, it is a ½ an ounce. So the swim depth says 1.5 to 1.9 meters, which is 5 to 6 foot. Depending on what line you have it on. I think with this one here, I either want to throw 8 to 10 pound line just to get it down to that depth. You know, my favorite jerkbait setup typically for most jerkbaits all year round is anywhere from a 6-10 all the way up to a 7-foot rod. Medium heavy most of the time, medium heavy moderate, so kind of like a cranking style. Or if I really need to work that bait extremely fast, I'm gonna move to around a 7-11 or 6'11" or 7-foot rod, medium heavy with a faster tip on it, especially with your shiners, your re-ranges, your KVDs. But these ones here, a lot shorter rod, a lot more limber rod, is great to keep these hooks in the fish's mouth. So this Maverick here, brand new from Rapala. Absolutely love this one, and one that is not talked about super often, which I think a lot of people are missing out on. We've done a lot of videos on these. The Shimano World Minnow 155 SP. Now what's great about the World Minnow, guys, if you haven't seen this, it has the flash boost technology in it. Try to pull it out here for y'all. Inside the chamber of this bait, it has a little piece of foil just going in there. I've talked about it a lot when it came out last year. It does have some really good hooks on it out of the package. I believe these are BKK hooks. The overall profile of this bait is a lot more shad shaped than something like a 110. It is more similar to something like an Ito Shiner, if I can get it off my table here. There we go. It is very similar to a design of an Ito Shiner, where it's got the taller body on it. And I really appreciate that. You know, the 110 is great. It's a very slender profile, but it doesn't really match a lot of the shad forwards that you actually see in your lakes. So this one here, the bill is very skinny on it. You can see right there, it's a very skinny bill, so you can't hit this one extremely hard. If you hit it too hard, it's gonna blow out, kind of rise up a little bit. So this one here is another what I call twitch style jerkbait, kind of like that 110. 110 kind of does it all though, so kind of, you know, it's overall a really good bait for twitching and letting it sit still. It's a suspending jerkbait. As it goes, that flash boost inside is just gonna attract those fish, reflect a lot of light, and almost cause that secondary action where that fish is like, oh, I gotta go eat this. So we've got a bunch of these guys here. Again, the World Minnow 115, and overall just a super, super good jerkbait. I absolutely love these in the dead of winter. This one here has a great weight transfer system in it. You can hear it. It doesn't have any other rattles other than the hooks going, the hardware on it, and if you do get that the flash boost really moving, it does make a little bit of a chatter. So you can hear it right there in the spring on the weight transfer system. So the weight transfer system is very similar to something like the re-range, where it's a really, really heavy weight. All the bulk of that bait is in that weight transfer system. As it flies through the air, it's going to allow you to cast extremely far distances. So guys, I hope you learned a little bit about a couple jerkbaits that you might not have heard of. In the fall time, those fish are definitely moving around, looking for bait, trying to eat as much as they can before wintertime comes, and the best way to get them is with a very aggressive jerkbait. You know, your shiners, your re-ranges, your KVD 300s, those are all going to play big time right now in the fall. And if you haven't tried them, definitely pick some up, lakeprotackle.com, guys. New customers can save 10% off their first order with us with code NEW10, NEW10. You can find that down in the description there. I'm gonna try to make sure to link all these different baits down below as well, so definitely pick them up with the links there. And guys, we've got everything you need for jerkbait fishing. Check out our huge selection of rods, reels. I highly recommend the Daiwa Tatula 70 SVTW, Corrado 70. Another great one would have to be a Corrado 150 if you are trying to pack some bigger line on there or cast really, really far. You can throw the 110, you can throw the World Minnow on spinning setups, 15 to 20 pound braided line to around a 12 pound, 10 pound fluorocarbon leader, and it is amazing as well. And you can check out all of our rods and reels and line and all that online. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like on it if you did, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys.